Good morning, all of you Mojave Supply fans. We're really excited today to sit down with Devin Sizemore of Sizemore Consulting. Devin's a good friend of mine, has a ton of valuable business insight. Devin, thanks for being on the show this morning.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So real quick, I'd love you to kind of go down your list, and we didn't talk about this, but I'd love you to go down your list of just kind of your professional experience real quick, just because you've got a ton of experience in a lot of different areas. Just hit on some of the high points real quick so people know who you are.
Yeah, definitely. I don't like listening to people I don't know, so I always like to give a quick rundown. Always been a serial entrepreneur, love business. Had a marketing agency for 4 years. Bought and sold a couple of companies during that time. Had a local team, an international team. When I sold, I had over 400 clients, all different industries, all different sizes. So lots of exposure to what helps businesses scale and grow. Went into sales consulting, had a manufacturing company, a co-working space, have raised some capital for different ventures. And we're currently opening a cat cafe, so that's fun. And I also did a corporate stint for a couple of years. So I've seen, I don't want to say everything because there's always something else, but I've seen a lot in a lot of industries.
Yeah, no, and that's a very extensive resume. I know a bit more of the details about it, and I can say you're a great resource. So I appreciate you being on. That's how we met is through your corporate stint, and then I know we've sat on a board together, and you're very involved in the nonprofit community as well, helping grow and build nonprofits and advising them as well. So no, a tremendous resume. But today, the reason I wanted to sit down with you is to discuss CRM. I think there's a lot of misconception about what CRM is, could be, is not. So just right out of the gate, what is CRM?
Yeah, it's a great question and it's a great conversation, right? So, CRM, customer relationship management, or if you want to simplify it, it's just contact management, right? It's where are you storing your contact data and what are you doing with the data that you're storing? Those are kind of the two sides of it, right? We all have a phone, so you probably have a contact list. That is a form of a CRM, right? Very generic one, and that you can't do much with it, but at least you're capturing names, phone numbers, emails, right? So where are we capturing data, and then what do we do with the data we're capturing?
Okay. And that's and maybe to take it one step backwards really quick. So we've got a lot of clients that have larger businesses. I'm sure they understand and use some level of CRM software. Let's talk to those really small companies, maybe the owner operated or one or two employees that feel like they don't necessarily have the time to manage yet another software system. Um, on that level, why is it so important from the beginnings of a business to have a CRM?
Yeah, I mean, if we think about business as a fundamental, like core, what makes business tick, right? Without revenue, you can't have a business. And the easiest path to revenue is to manage and nurture a contact list. Most sales fail because people don't follow up. And it's really hard to follow up if you don't have a process. And it's really hard to have a process if you don't have your contacts in a system. So if we look at the nurturing side of the business, where even, to your larger clients or people who already have a book, if you have a book, what are we doing to nurture, or I like to call it the client love, right? What's that client success formula that we're using to nurture our clients for more referrals, word of mouth, get recommendations, help with our marketing. And then on the sales side, what are we doing from first touch all the way to close? How do we track that process? And how do we track all the data around that? Because if you fast forward in your business 3, 4, 5 years, your most valuable asset will be your data. That's why Facebook's so valuable. That's why all social platforms are so valuable. That's why Google is so valuable, because it's data, right? If you don't have a good list and you don't have contacts to work with, every day you're just throwing stuff at the wall or you're waiting for the phone to ring. I want you to create a business where you're controlling your revenue and you have much more influence of the outcome. And in order to do that, the CRM is actually the most valuable tool in your toolkit.
Okay. So that kind of hits on my next question of just who should use CRM. And if I heard correctly in your answer, it's everybody. Everybody
It's
should be using CRM.
it's everybody, and it would surprise you. Most businesses that I've worked with don't have a form of a CRM. Maybe they have QuickBooks set up or an invoicing tool and their customer data is in there, but
Mhm.
it's not in there in a way that allows them to do anything with it. It's just as good as having the data in here, right?
Mhm.
So you have to have your data in a place where you can do something with it. At a basic, if you want to be really elementary, I mean, we could have an Excel sheet with names, email, phone numbers, and last contacted, right? There's obviously better tools than that. But everybody needs one if you are in business or if you're a sales professional. And then the biggest tip I give people is if you're a professional at all and you're working anywhere, you should manage your database somewhere that you
Mhm.
control and that's yours, because that can go with you from career to career, position to position.
So you're saying essentially, regardless of whether you own your own company or you work for somebody else in some capacity, those contacts that you make are essentially your contacts. So you don't necessarily have to feel bad about taking your friendships and relationships with you if you go somewhere else.
It's
And
your
so
most
being able to
valuable
manage.
asset, right? You got to do it. Now, there's points where you got to put the contact information into whatever business database, right? And as the business owner, we
Mhm.
want that data as well. But as an individual, you should maintain that data somewhere that you can have it should you move on, so that you can make sure you don't lose like your good acquaintances' phone numbers or your friends.
Mhm.
I actually had a client that just transitioned out of a 16-year career and didn't have a backup database, because in 16 years everything was just integrated with the company. But then when they
Mhm.
transitioned out, they had to scramble to find all this stuff, and it would have been great to at least have a backup somewhere where it's like, hey, at least I can dig through that database and make a couple calls and let people know what I'm doing nowadays.
Yeah. No, and that makes a lot of sense, and it just makes you more valuable whether you go off and do your own thing or you go on to your next company, because those relationships are yours, so you might as well maintain them. So, okay, so with that, we've talked about kind of the basics of CRM, what it is. And I know you and I have talked about this extensively, but so say, and I'll throw out an example there. Say I'm a residential maid service, a housekeeping company. Um, so what should I look for, first of all, in a CRM tool? And this really is across the board, right? I imagine for every company, it's probably fairly similar.
Yeah, I would say on the other end of it, you
Hmm.
need to not look for much. So I think where a lot of people fail in getting into managing contact information is we get stuck in the analysis step, where we're
Hmm.
trying to make the tool do more than I'm probably ever going to use it for. I've heard
Hmm.
people talk about automation, which is great. However, I don't use any automation, and I'm sure my sales process will outperform yours. So
Hmm.
I don't think automation is the decision maker, right? I think that if you're looking for a contact relationship management tool, it needs to store data, and you need to be able to assign tasks to the people, right? Either to the contact or to the company. And bonus, if there's a pipeline or a deal flow somewhere in there, that's
Hmm.
probably a good enough tool. Anything beyond that is probably an upgrade down the road as your company understands what you're trying to manage, right? Do you have ticket systems? If we're looking at the maid service, do we want to integrate that with the billing platform? Like, what other tools and software are we using that integration may be key? But to start, just get into something, because I don't want you to get stuck. I want you to start.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a famous marketing exec that his big drumbeat is, if you're not doing anything, at least do something. And it sounds like you're right there in line with that as well. In that, when when you don't have any systems in place, just get a system in place. Because I think a lot of times, so many of these tools are so robust that you start trying to figure them out and you get lost in the weeds. So you don't know really, that because you don't have the background, you don't know what step one, step two, step three are. And so you get so focused on all of these advanced tools that could be used someday that you don't even bother to learn the basics, and now you don't use the tool because it's frustrating at this point, right? So okay, so you mentioned something that you can keep your contacts, assign tasks. Assign tasks, like give us an example. What are we looking at? What tasks would we be assigning to either ourselves or our contacts?
Yeah, so let's just talk about a relationship. Let's use a referral,
Mhm.
because I'm sure all of your clients, including yourself and myself, we love
Mhm.
referrals, right? So if we
Right.
get a referral, no matter how that comes, someone calls us, it's an email introduction, or someone stops in our business, that's the start of a relationship. We now
Mhm.
probably have some form of data, right? Probably a name, a phone number. If it was an email, maybe we have a name, phone number, and email. If it's in the B2C world, right, that's probably
Mhm.
the end of it. If it's the B2B world, so business to business, maybe we have a business name, maybe an address, a little additional information. Step
Mhm.
one is that data has to get into your contact relationship management, right? So for me, I use HubSpot. HubSpot's a free tool. It's easy to use. I don't even have the upgraded version. So that should tell you like there's no cost barrier here. You put their data in there, and then now the tasking, right? It all comes down to your systems, your processes, your business. In my world, if I get a referral, my next step is I probably want to book either a one-to-one meeting to get to know that person, depending on why they were referred, or I want to book a discovery meeting because I'm trying to move through a sales process. I then would put them in there. Here's a tip
Mhm.
on your CRM, extra bonus for everybody. When you put them in your CRM, make sure you connect with them on the social platforms that you're on as well. So for me, I always connect with people on Facebook and LinkedIn, Instagram if I can find them, because I want to build my database on the social platforms as well as building it in my CRM. When they're in the CRM, I'm probably going to send an email, make a phone call, push for that meeting. The task I would assign to myself would be something that says email underscore follow up to book meeting, or call underscore follow up to book meeting. And I would schedule that 3 to 5 business days from now. And that's the start of your task journey.
Okay. No, and that's a really good example because I know that is a big question, right? Okay, we've gone out, we've got all these contacts, we went to a chamber mixer or whatever, a networking event, and we've got business cards, but we don't necessarily know what to do with them. So, a lot of times they just sit there, right? So that's good figuring out what that pipeline looks like. So, maybe if we could jump back into that specific example now. So we've got the residential housekeeper. They're getting referrals from from their customers to new customers. They've got that contact. They've put them in their CRM, and they've flagged them in such a way as you recommended. What is the next step from there? So that 3 to 5 day period comes. They make the contact, and maybe it's a warm lead, but the customer is not ready to pull the trigger on their service at this moment. How do they handle longer term follow up? Because I know we don't want to just pester our leads.
Yeah. So, like two talking points probably. So the first is I'm going to give you the exact follow-up sequence. This is what I use, what I teach all my clients. I'm going to give it to you here in a second. The
Mhm.
thing you need to remember is if they're referred to you, you should feel comfortable following up forever because they were referred to you with a need.
Right.
Also, if you change your sales philosophy to always providing value, right? So looking for ways to connect people, looking for ways to solve people's problems other than your product and service, which is how you build real long-term relationships, you have permission to follow up forever because you're not a salesperson, right? Most of you
Right.
probably aren't sales experts, right? You're not like Ryan who enjoys cold calling. So if that's not you and you just want to go build relationships, then you should follow up forever. So here's the exact follow up process, and I'm going to verbally give you a script as well. Let's go back to your chamber mixer. Let's take it even a step further back, right? You have those business cards. I hate to see people who have these, right? You've got some sort of portfolio, and then you open this
Mhm.
up, and this is your business card holder spot, and there's like 30 or 40 cards in there. Those 30 or 40 cards are useless because you're not doing anything with them. Yet you took the time to go to an event to get data that you're now doing nothing with, right? So once you get that piece of information, whether it's a business card there or a referral, again, they go in the CRM. I like to do first touch via email if it's like a warmish cold lead, right? Where it's like someone that I'm not sure what their potential is. They haven't raised their hand and say, hey, sell to me. That first touch is, hey, Ryan, it was great meeting you at the chamber event. I enjoyed briefly learning about you and your business. I'd love to schedule a time to learn more about you and your business so that I can better refer business to you. Here's a link to my calendar. Look forward to getting together. Everything about the email I just sent you is about the other person. And the book rate of that email template is through the roof because I'm not trying to sell you in the first meeting. I am simply trying to fill my calendar up with the opportunity to build relationships. Now, if you're a hot lead, say we're at a networking event or it's that referral that says, hey, my buddy needs their house cleaned or is looking for a housekeeper, I would probably follow up with a phone call because they've indicated that that is a hot lead. And my script would still be, hey, Ryan, I got your contact information from XYZ. Sounds like you're interested in XYZ by my understanding. I'd love to set up a time to make sure that I understand your needs and see if there's anything I can do to help you. So again, soft, right? We're not just trying to shove whatever service down their throat. Now, once we've started the process, whether the chamber or whether it's that housekeeping referral lead, the process is the same. Every 3 business days, 5 times, you're going to follow up. So today's a Monday. If I got your contact information and today was my first touch, this Thursday would be my next touch. I recommend rotating between email and then your next touch is a phone call. If you make a phone call, leave a voicemail because most people don't answer their phone nowadays. So make sure you leave a voicemail. In the voicemail, the script should say this: hey, Ryan, I'm trying to reach you about blank, right? Scheduling a meeting or following up on that referral. Hey, I'm going to shoot you an email as well in case that's more convenient for you. As soon as you hang the phone up, you're going to send him an email that says, hey, Ryan, just left you a voicemail, was trying to follow up with you about exactly what you said in your voicemail. Love to get you on the calendar or love to find a time that works for you. Here's a link to my calendar, or feel free to call me back if that's more convenient. Now, 3 business days later, we'll rotate back to whatever we did, right? So today was an email for me. Thursday, we're going to call, voicemail, email. 3 business days later, so Friday, Monday, Tuesday, you're going to get an email. The next Friday, you're going to get a call, voicemail, send an email. The next Wednesday, you're going to get an email. After the first 5 touches, it's actually 6 touches because it was the first touch and then 5 3-day follow-ups, I moved to weekly. Weekly touches, I still rotate. I do that 4 times. We have now followed up with a prospect for approximately 6 weeks, right? This could be nurturing a relationship. This could be a hot sale. And by hot sale, most sales don't close until 11 touches. So you probably are giving yourself a better close rate by doing all these touches as well. After the 4 touches at every week, I then move them into my checkup and follow up forever 30-day process. And that 30-day process, going back to your original question, like, what's our tasking? That's why we have to have a CRM, because now I can task myself to know that every one of these contacts that I get has some sort of task assigned to them so I can nurture this relationship over time. And I can make sure that I'm not dropping the ball in building data and doing nothing with it. So super long-winded answer, but a whole lot.
No, and it's a good process. And I want to just hit on something that you've touched on a couple of times, but I really want to highlight it. The goal with business nowadays is especially service-based businesses, you have to build relationships with your potential clients. There's so many options, there's so many avenues, there's so many resources out there that a customer or client can go to that you have to build those relationships. So having the CRM, just as customer relationship management, right? We have to be focused and shift our mindset to, I'm not trying to sell to you today necessarily. I'm trying to build that relationship so that when there's a need, I'm top of mind. So that being said, one of the last big areas that I want to cover. So somebody listening to this has got a lot of great information. Okay, I know how to set it up. I know how I should follow up. I know why I need it. But I can imagine the biggest question. This would be my biggest question as a new business owner operator, or maybe I've got 1 or 2 cleaners or technicians under me, and I'm having to manage it all. So really great advice, but I just don't have, in my mind, I don't have enough time to focus on this right now because I'm super busy. What do we say to those individuals? What do we say to those individuals to help them understand how important this process is.
Yeah. So let's go back to, why are you in business first? This is the first question I'd ask you. Like, why did you start your house cleaning business, your commercial cleaning business, your floor cleaning business? Why? Why did you start? Was it because you want to stare at carpets and floors all day? Or was it because you want to control your time and have some monetary outcome, whether that's selling the business or generating a lifestyle and revenue position that allows you to feel better owning the company than working for someone else, right? That's probably why you did it. If that's a true statement, then this conversation should be your main priority, because without deal flow, pipeline, revenue, none of the rest matters. So most of the time, this is the last thing, right? So the analogies we haven't given yet, I love the fishbowl analogy. They don't do it at restaurants as much now because everything's digital. But if you go back a few years, you would go into a restaurant, right? And they would have the fishbowl sitting like where you check out. And it's like, put your business information or your contact information in and enter to win blank. And then the restaurant would never do anything with that because they were told somewhere capture data, but they never do anything with it because, again, it's not a priority. However, had they captured that data, put it into a system, and in their case, probably something with text ability, where they can text you and say, hey, lunch special today, buy one, get one free, you will see an uptick in business because I'm sitting in my office at 10:30. And if I get a text that says, hey, pop in because it's buy one, get one free, I'm going to text the buddy and I'm going to be there, right?
Right.
We have to make it a priority. I want to get business owners to the mindset where when you start your day, when you're managing your day, and this is why I said the task list piece is key. You probably have a to-do list somewhere, right? If you're super unorganized, it might be a whole bunch of Post-it notes on your desk or in some sort of pad folio, right? Which is fine. You have some sort of list. You have an idea of, hey, here's what I need to do today. Here's the jobs I'm getting done. Here's the teammates I need to follow up with. I need to go buy new mop heads, whatever it is, right? You have a list. If we migrate that list into the CRM so that your whole to-do list is digital, one, you're not going to lose as much stuff and you're going to be more on top of it. But two, it forces you into the system. So for me, when I start my day, I always open up my email and the next thing I open is my CRM. And that CRM drives my day because every single one of my tasks for today is in there, whether it's an email, whether it's a call, or whether it's a to-do, which means it's some sort of action item, whether it's following up with a client, whether it's working on a project, it's all in the system. So okay. I know you're busy. I get it, right? I totally understand. I run 2.5 businesses. I work just as many hours as you do, but I make it a priority. And here's the reason. I want you to run your business in a non-emotional way. And I want you to run your business in a way that you feel control. If you can do those two things, business becomes much more fun, right? We're not scrambling. We're not hitting those highs and lows of the emotion of business. So what I want to do is get you into a system where when I have this meeting with Ryan right now, right, we're talking, we're creating content. It's awesome. I hope you find value in it. I already have a task on my to-do list for tomorrow that says to do follow up from interview. I've given myself permission that the second this is over, I don't need to think about it because tomorrow I've given myself permission to follow up. I want you to manage your whole schedule like that so that as soon as you're done at a client's, and whether you need to invoice them or you got paid or you're going to send a follow-up tomorrow, all of that's already tasked. And now you're just on to the next client and you're not sitting here trying to worry about, well, what do I need to do? No, it's already in there, right? So I know that's, again, another long-winded answer to your question, but it has to become the core of your business. And if it does, you will see a dramatic increase in revenue because you're not going to lose potential deals. You're going to mine for deals that are more valuable. And you're going to have way less stress because when you go to sleep at night, you don't have anything to remember. It's already in the system.
Right. And that's key. And having those systems in place, and just two thoughts out of that, but this is my big talking point to my clients, right? Especially when you're starting out in business, but really any level, if you haven't done this yet, you have to get your systems in place. Without systems, you have created a job for yourself. You have not built a company as an asset. Because if you don't have the systems in place, you have nothing to sell when you're ready to retire. So you could build a nice company or a nice job for yourself, but you really haven't built anything long term. So those systems are are going to be absolutely key. And then the other is, I look at business in kind of an oversimplified way, but it works for me. And that's the tired analogy of a three-legged stool, right? So you've got, and I know you and I have talked about this before, but you've got administration, you've got operations, and I know they're different disciplines, but you've got sales and marketing as the third leg of the stool. And so when we're talking about how important CRM and that relationship building process is, we all know as business owners that if we don't get administrative tasks complete, right? Like paying our people, making sure our licenses stay up to date, those kinds of things, we can get in big trouble and lose our business. We also know on the operations side of the house that if we don't go out and clean our customers and take care of the customers that we already have, we're going to lose those customers, and then we're not going to have revenue flowing in. Where we get in trouble is this mindset that, well, I don't have time to do sales and marketing today. And we feel that nothing negative is going to happen if we push it off to tomorrow. So we do that. And then tomorrow comes along with its own set of challenges, operationally and administrative, and we push marketing off. And then what happens is we push marketing and relationship building and sales off for so long that now we've got ourselves in a hole that we can never get out of, because now we can't catch up to the level where we need to be. And that's where businesses just end up closing down their doors. And so great points out of that. I really appreciate you going through CRM. One of the last things that I want to touch on, and this is more for you, tell us a little bit about what you do in Devin Sizemore Consulting, and what value you can bring to our clients, no matter where they are in the business growth process.
Yeah, great question. Let me add a couple pieces of value real quick, and then I'll answer that, because there's a couple things that you mentioned that I definitely want to give some value on. I like to use the Teeter-Totter analogy. So a lot of businesses and sales professionals go through the teeter-totter, right? You're either selling or you're producing, if we want to get really simple. And most of the time what happens is you start out with selling, maybe you hit your warm network, and that creates some sales, right? Then we produce, which means in this case, right, we're cleaning the houses, we're cleaning the businesses, they're on the calendar. Now, when we start producing, and producing becomes overwhelming, right? Because not only are you cleaning, you're invoicing, and now the admin work catches up to your point, right? Now, all of a sudden that has become our day, and the sales fall off. Well, okay, you catch up, right? Because now there's no work. You finish the work. And then all of a sudden you're there with an empty pipeline, staring at the wall going, oh, I got to sell, right? The hard part is, if you don't have a contact relationship manager, you don't even have a list to sell to or try to fill your calendar, right? And you haven't nurtured anything you have anyway. So those business cards that are there, you're like, oh, I'll reach out to them. If they're so cold at that point that you already failed, right? So it has to become the core. The other reason, going back to that task list management, is the administrative and the operational are all managed in the same task list. I manage my team in the same platform. And because I do that, it holds me accountable to my own task list, which has to be sales driven. If you're starting a business and you're not focusing on sales, stop. Just like go back to being an employee, because you have to have revenue. I don't want to see you fail, yet most businesses don't succeed, right? If we look at the statistics, it's horrendous, right? So I don't want to discourage you. I want to set you up to succeed. So make sure sales and marketing is always a focus. The other thing I want you to think about, we didn't talk about this, but I think it's valuable, the types of contacts. You and I have talked about it, but I want your clients to hear this, right? When you guys are out there networking, most people focus on finding clients, right? The person that can buy your product or service. That's how we're all taught. Start a business, find clients, rinse and repeat. The problem is clients are one-to-one transactional relationships. Even if it's a recurring revenue model, it's still a transactional relationship. I want you to focus on one-to-many relationships. So where do your clients gather? Who educates your clients? What are they interested in, right? Who do they seek influence from? And who are connectors who just know everybody? Those are the people that are valuable to have in your network, because they can connect you with everybody else. And when you nurture them, they're the ones who drive word of mouth or referral business. So just plant that seed that I want you guys to not just focus on clients. I want you to focus on all relationships. My biggest deals in every business I've had always come from a surprise source. They always come from a weird referral from someone you would least expect. So stop putting expectations on relationships and just focus on the relationship. Those are my 2 points. Back to your question.
Great point.
at Devin Sizemore Consulting, right? So I work with 4 types of clients. I work with people who are changing careers. So people who are looking. So if maybe you're plugging into Mojave because you're really early in that journey, I'd love to talk to you about the why, and the why in a very practical way. Like, why personally to professionally are we trying to make this move? And does the professional alignment actually align with our personal goals? I work with a ton of sales professionals that are looking to scale. I work with small and medium businesses that are looking to either streamline systems and processes or scale. Both have a need. And then on the high end, I work with clients that are looking to scale nationally. So open different markets or have different locations or scale aggressively through team expansion. All of those things, I can help you in the growth or the process side. I can help you in the relationship or the marketing side. If there's a piece of the business, I can help you. And if I can't help you, I'll throw resources at you. And all of my clients start in a 2-hour session. We talk strategy, get everything that's in your head, all your worries, all your ideas out, and we create a plan that makes sense for your business based on where you're at today.
No, that's awesome. And I know I've worked with you for a while now, and that whole process is a great process. I know businesses of all sizes can really benefit from your process. So check out, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can just Google Devin Sizemore and then maybe put the name Reno at the end, but you'll find me. My website has a bunch of information on every social platform. My handle is DP Sizemore. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook Business. I'm not hard to find, and I'll take a meeting with anyone. So if you guys want to talk strategy, chat, just catch up, happy to do so.
Sounds good, and we'll link once we get off here and we post the video after the live. We'll make sure to link over to your social and website as well. Well, Devin, I appreciate you coming on today. The information has been great. Anything else that you feel we haven't covered yet before we go today?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan. I think that I just want to reiterate to people that this is the core to business. So you talked about, like, you need to have your systems and processes in place. Anytime I start a business venture, the first thing I start with is the CRM, right? So the first tool I implement is the contact tool. The next thing I focus on is where I'm going to store my files in a digital way that's easy to access. Beyond that, you have to look at how are you going to take payments and deal with accounting, but that you can really clean up once you have revenue. You shouldn't focus on that till you've created the problem, right? And then beyond that, like, your calendar setup and how you're booking meetings and scheduling, all that stuff matters. But at the end of the day, you can throw it on a Google Calendar and move on. But the first 2 tools, right, is always, for me, it's the contact management, and then it's how I'm storing my file and data. With those 2 things in place, I can limp my way through most businesses and most industries. So I want you guys to just chase that, be passionate about what you're doing. Remember your why. You didn't start your business to hate it, right? So if it feels like that, something's wrong. Ryan can guide you back to the light, right? Ryan runs a really awesome business. He knows the industry backwards and forwards. So take advice there, or seek advice from someone, right? Get that outside input to kind of help you get your head screwed back on and understand why you're doing what you do and get that passion back. Business should be fun, so let's make it fun.
No, absolutely, and I thank you for that very generous plug there. But that's the thing. Like, we all know something, but there's areas that we struggle in, right? And so we have to get over that thinking that we have to know everything. Let's reach out to those that are better equipped in areas that we're not, and just use those resources, because we're going to be able to get farther when we tap into others than we ever would be able to by ourselves. So, well, Devin, thank you again. I appreciate it, and look forward to having you on again someday.
Thanks, Ryan.